on Wednesday, and that means you are most welcome aboard from wherever you are watching us from, be it in Madiokolo, those in Terego, those in Yumbe, those in Obongi, those in Moyo, from other parts of West Nile, talking about the Aluru sub-region in Zombo, Pakwach, Nebi, and all the other parts, and not forgetting those in Lango, Choli, who are also watching us as well, and those in central Uganda. If you're watching us from there, we also want to thank you in a special way, and those in Western, we also don't leave you behind, and not forgetting those in Eastern and the other parts of the country. So in case you are watching us from Uganda, that is, you're doing something great, and we commend you for that, and in a special way, I would like to welcome you aboard. And today, Farish Majid sitting in again for Frederick Ramadri, who is unwell and is unable to make it on the show as well. So I think I'll be in place to really sit in for him properly and give you what you expect to know in the world of the whole world. So I think I will be able to inform you on the KOKOLIRIKO live show, because this is the first show on West Nile TV that starts up your day. So I think you also need to start up it in a good way. With that, then you'll be able to also, starting off your day in a good way is one way that really is quite good, because a good beginning, I believe, also makes a good end. So I am not the person who believes that a bad day makes a good end. So I'm not the person who believes that. I believe if you start well, it will also end well for you. So I think that is why we are already here. And today, as I said earlier on, my name is Farish Majid, sitting in for Frederick Ramadri, who is unwell, and who will be maybe coming till next time. And today I will be sitting in for him, and we are going to be interacting a lot. And when it comes to some of the topics that I will be able to explain and discuss with you, we are going to be talking about zoonotic diseases. So I think we are expecting a guest. He will be also coming here to tell us more about the zoonotic diseases. And when you talk about the zoonotic diseases, these are diseases that attack both people and animals. These are diseases that do not limit themselves to maybe a particular group, and they attack both the human beings and animals. So I think we need also to sit down and wait and listen from him. So I think the zoonotic diseases are still a big challenge. And now we are being informed that with the heavy downpour, really, it is becoming a challenge now that the rains have also worsened the state of zoonotic diseases. So I think that is something also we need to embrace ourselves, and we need to give our time for, because if we do not really give time to understand the zoonotic diseases, then we shall be left behind. Because zoonotic diseases, we have been told that they still kill a number of people. A number of lives have actually been lost due to the zoonotic diseases, and we are at the risk, because zoonotic diseases, really, if you look at them, we have anthrax. We have so many of them. Anthrax is one of them. We have so many fevers that are really as a result of zoonotic diseases. So I think we really need to sit down and have time to understand more on the zoonotic diseases, because if we do not really sit down, then we shall be able to lose our lives. I remember this year, one of the little girls from Madiokolo actually lost her life due to the negligence, and due to the negligence of medical personnel as a result of these zoonotic diseases. And this one was bitten by a stray dog, and people did not know until the time she passed on. And this is where also negligence of the people, because if we do not really tend to rush with these issues of dog bites to report them, because some of these stray dogs, not all of them actually have the diseases, but those that really bite us, and if we sit down and wait to see to it that we do not rush with the issues and rush to report to the medical personnel, and then at the end of the day we shall be left out, and then it may be too late for us to also get the treatment from these medical facilities. And now these medical facilities have also been raised, the alarm has also been raised against them, that they do not have the diseases, the right treatments at times on time for these rabies cases, because rabies is really one of the greatest challenge. And if you talk about it in the greater Arua, we have the cases are still more than 20 being reported, and that means that is really a huge number of cases. And with those that are not reported, then the numbers may be also more, because stray dogs still keep on loitering around and they bite people. So I think we also need to embrace ourselves. And for those who have dogs, let's take these dogs for vaccinations. Let's take them for vaccinations, because government has gazetted it so many places and so many medicines with these veterinary officers. Let's put them to task to ensure that they really give us these treatments. They really vaccinate our dogs, because if we do not do that, we are putting the lives of so many people at risk. Just imagine losing somebody's life as a result of stray dog biting. So I think this is something that really we should commend them. We should also work towards seeing that it is avoided, because these are diseases that are avoidable. And if we rush for this right treatment, then we shall be able to also get the right treatment. And with the heavy downpour, we have been told that these diseases are getting worse. So I think this is also something that we really need to ensure that we avoid and we avert, because if we do not do that, then so many lives are going to be lost. We are going to be wasting a lot of money in treating these diseases. So I think that is also something that if we do, then as families, as stakeholders, we shall be able to also use this little money that we have in form of treatment, rather than not in form of treatment, but rather than using it for developmental purposes. So I think we need to also avoid, we need to sensitize the locals, we need to also engage the public and tell them more about these zoonotic diseases, because these zoonotic diseases are still a challenge, and people get these diseases in various ways. It may not be as a result of a dog bite, but could be a result of eating an animal that was bitten by these stray dogs. Talking about these animals, because some of the places where we buy this meat from, we do not know, and these diseases, we may get them from the meat that we buy from these places, maybe from the restaurants also where we eat from. So I think this is something that we really need to ensure that we work towards rectifying as people of West Nile, because zoonotic diseases are still with us, and given the fact that we are bordering two countries, the DRC and South Sudan. The stray animals may come from these ends, and we do not know about them. We cannot trace their backgrounds, and they may end up coming to our countries and then bite us from here with their diseases. So I think this is also something that really we need to work towards as people of West Nile. We need to protect ourselves, we need to protect our loved ones. And talking about the rains, yes, we have been informed that, as I earlier on told you, that we have been informed that heavy rains are really worsening these situations. And now the heavy rains have not left only on the zoonotic diseases, they have also worsened the status of our roads. Our roads have really become impassable, more so when it rains and the cars and the vehicles cannot pass, they cannot move smoothly. So I think this is something that we also really, as people of West Nile, need to pray to see to that the rains reduce, because at the end of the day, these rains also destroy our roads, and once they deter our movements, then it becomes difficult, because the road sector is our biggest means of transport. As we have always been aware of, the road transport is still our biggest mode of movement. So I think if we do not work towards it, then the movement of our goods and services from one place to another will also be affected, and that will also affect our development, will also affect our growth. So I think this is something that we really need to work towards, and if you can be able to avoid some of these heavy rains and heavy downpours stretching onto our roads, let's do it. Let's create passaways for these waters, so that they can also be able to move in another direction rather than coming to our roads. So I think as communities, we have a lot to do when it comes to protecting our roads, because most of our roads now, if you are to move, even within the city here, have been poor. If you have been developing potholes as a result of this heavy downpour. So I think when you move, you see floods on the road. So I think this is something that is not quite good. It becomes very difficult, and for the people who have these machines, who have the vehicles, you know how it is for the drivers, and I believe you are going through a lot of pain, more so when it comes to dirtening your cars. So I think this is something also we really need to work towards, but there's nothing I believe we can do about it, because it's a natural cause. It is something that is national, and something that we cannot really sit with, that we maybe say so and so come and work towards it, but we just have prayers now to sit with that the climate normalizes. And one way we can also do something is that let's ensure that we protect the environment, we protect the climate. And one way we're actually going to protect the climate is that by ensuring that we plant trees. Let's indulge in practices of planting trees. We have the tree pieces, and let the government also come out clearly to give us these trees, so that people who have the land that is currently out of production, these people can actually plant trees. In my area, I've seen a lot of water-flogged areas. So I think if we really gave these people trees, it will be of great help, because the trees also help in one way of absorbing the water. So I think this could be a great initiative to see to it that these heavy floods, these heavy waters are controlled, and in one way we could actually control them is through planting trees. And planting of trees really is one way that we can also be able to change our incomes from. So I think you will not only be fighting climate, but you will also be empowering yourselves economically. So I think this is something that we really need to do, because of some of the tree species, I believe, help absorb water. They help pull the waters. So I think this is something as stakeholders, as people of West Nile, if we really invested in, if we really gave our times to participate in, then we'll be able to also sit with that maybe our lives are changed, because this is something that is global. We are talking about global concern, because climate change has really become a global concern. It is a worldwide fight. It is not only a fight for a country, and we all have a part to play to sit with that we involve ourselves in the fight against climate change, because climate change, now we have seen it. we are witnessing rains at a time when we do not expect to see them. This is within this period, as people of this region, we are not expecting heavy rains like how they are happening now, and that is really a clear implication of the climate change that we are talking about. So I think as stakeholders, we have the mandate. We have a lot to do when it comes to fight against climate change because the several campaigns are really in place. We have had so many of them. What is just remaining for us as people of West Nile maybe is to see that maybe now we also start taking up the issues of ensuring or practicing of what we have been told, because I believe the information gap has not been that very much. We have been informed on time. People have done so many talk shows. People have done so many campaigns. What is just remaining now is to see to it that people who have been informed, people who have been educated, people who have been sensitized, people who got the knowledge, now take up the mantle to also see to it that they start practicing what they have really been told. So I think this is something, if people, as people of West Nile, if we really took serious, if it really became a concern for us, then it will be able to also help avert on some of the challenges of climate change, because climate change is really one issue that is threatening. Because if you have to look about climate change, it is now affecting a lot of activities. It is affecting people's daily activities. It is affecting the progress of farming. People who planted things, some of them may not be able to also enjoy the products. If you talk about the cassava people who planted the cassava, by now they will be able to they are expecting the sunlight, which is to really dry up their produce. So I think this is one issue that we really also pray that God maybe intervenes, because something about climate change, I believe as people of this region, if we do not indulge if we do not take up the mantle of starting to involve ourselves in climate change fight, then this is why we will also be regretting, because so many things are really happening in that way. And if you are to talk about, we have seen how it has impacted drastically on people of Moyo. We have the district that was cut. This whole sub-county was cut away from the district. You cannot access to go to that side. So I think this is really something, as people of that side, also it is affecting them, because if you could really tell how the roads have been occupied. And just the other day, also in Madiokolo, we saw a photo trending during the primary living examinations where a car was really finding it very difficult to move with the papers on the road. And the whole road was occupied by waters. So I think this is something maybe as people of this region we are suffering from, because climate change is really impacting drastically on our lives. So I think this is also something that maybe as people of this region we also need to have prayers now, because what we are doing may not be enough. All we need right now is now God's intervention. And one way we can actually do this is we need prayers. This goes to the religious leaders. You need to ensure that your sheep has to pray to see that climate change is something that we talk about. And during our preachings, we need to ensure that we sensitize the masses in these churches, in these mosques, about climate change, because sometimes the information that comes from you is more taken than the information that comes from these experts. So I think let's work together as stakeholders. You can actually work with the various stakeholders, the climate change activists. You can work with the district officials, to see to it that you become activists also in the fight against climate change, because you have the numbers. And the numbers, if you really talk to them and they really believed in what you are saying, then we'll be able to see that the number of people who are taking up tree planting is also taken up, because we are talking about the world also getting modernized. It is getting, the global population is increasing. And what does this mean to the daily activities? It means that the land that was having these trees is now being cut down for settlement. So I think man's activities are also drastically impacting on the issues of climate change. This is something also where I'll be able to embrace myself with, and I really commend the religious leaders. I will also urge them as well to see to it that they talk to the masses, they give in time to sensitize and educate the locals about the fight against climate change. And one way we could actually do tree planting, even if it is not on a large scale. If you have a small piece of land, you can actually plant too. And we are talking about charcoal trade now that has really become the biggest contributor to climate change, because we are talking about charcoal change, and this is quite common with most of our districts. And if you are to move in the districts, we have Terego, Madiokolo, Yumbe. This is where most of the charcoal is coming from, in this side of the region of West Nile. And if you are to move to Acholi sub-region, it's also worse, where we have seen the leaders that side coming up with so many laws, so many issues, so many fights against tree cutting, but where we do not have options because some of these people who are involved in this tree cutting, who are involved in the charcoal business, sometimes also have nothing to do. And one way we need to really bring them aboard as stakeholders is involving them through the various government projects that are coming in place. Through giving them the PDM money, and when we give them the PDM money, we have the mandate to also sensitize them about the other various projects that these people could actually get involved in. And the PDM, actually, one of the mandates, one of the priorities where somebody can actually venture into and get the right money is through agriculture. And agriculture really has the ready demand. So I think if we really got these people off from tree cutting business, from the other charcoal business, and we really bring them on board through the various agricultural businesses and the other ventures also, we could also see a reduction in terms of charcoal trade. And now we do not also, this also goes to government. If we really did see that the connectivity to power to power among the families is also sped up. So I think this would also help the families access electricity, and one way if they access electricity, maybe they would also be able to use electricity for cooking, and then that would also help in reducing the over-reliance on charcoal and forest products. And if you talk about forest products, we also have firewood. So I think this would also help people against relying on these trees. And this would also move away the people who are involved in this business. And if these people these are the charcoal dealers, they would also be able to deviate from dealing in this trade to alternatives. Because if you are to talk about moving away from the trade without the alternatives, then we are talking nothing, because somebody will tell you, in my entire life, I've been eating from this trade, and this is the trade I used for paying my children's fees, and this is the trade I've known, and this is the only business I've known since I was born, because some of these businesses of charcoal or forest products have really been there into families. You find the grandfather was a charcoal burner, the father was dealing in this charcoal business, and then the child is also taken up in this charcoal business. They also produce children who are going to be taken up in these businesses. So I think we have the mandate to ensure that maybe if we do not have these alternatives, then we are talking nothing. So I think we also need to provide this for alternatives and sensitize them more about these diseases. Earlier on, I told you that we shall be joined by Nguma Willie. He is one of the veterinary officers from this district, and we are going to be talking about the issues of zoonotic diseases, which have really remained a great challenge. I remember a sad scenario, which I told you of, one young girl from Jako, who was transferred from Madiokolo district after being bitten by a stray dog, and this lady contracted the rabies, but the family did not know. And one of the assertions, and sometimes which we really put against this disease, is the late going for treatment. So I think this is something that we as people of West Nile need to embrace ourselves with. Once we have these diseases, let's ensure that we rush. Once we are bitten by these stray dogs, this is my humble appeal to you people, let's ensure that we report the cases in time. And with that, we are going to be taking a short break, and when we return back, we shall be able to bring him on board and to tell us more about zoonotic diseases, because zoonotic diseases really have remained a great challenge. For now, you are most welcome aboard. In case you're just joining us right now, this is the KOKOLIRIKO live show, the Wednesday edition with me, Farish Majid, and I will be also taking up the conversation from there. For now, let's take a short break, and when we return back, we shall be able to be joined by the guest to tell us more on the zoonotic diseases. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
of football. Our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it.
What a finish from Ashraf Bukume.
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Welcome back from that long commercial break, and in case you're just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard for the KOKOLIRIKO live show. Today is the Wednesday edition with me, Farish Majid. As I earlier on told you, the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV. You're most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. As I said, I'm Dr. Willie Nguma. I'm a principal veterinary officer working for Arua district.
Okay. We are talking about zoonotic diseases. Really, we have had a number of people losing their lives to this zoonotic diseases. I remember the last time I actually did a story about the zoonotic diseases. We are with you together in Jaco, where a family lost a life as a result of these zoonotic diseases. And the implications were really so much disturbing, and to you as a stakeholder, because I believe you receive these cases on the regional basis. And we're talking about the regional basis, we have had a number of cases being registered on the zoonotic diseases here. You actually did come out clearly to state that our region is at the stake of this disease, because we may be able to be having animals that are stray from the other parts of the other countries also coming to us here. And what does this mean to the people of this nation, and what does it mean to the people of this region, and how, and maybe briefly, if you can also be able to paint for us an image of these zoonotic diseases, and maybe have the scope of how they are stretching, that will be able to also explain to us more on the dangers of these diseases, and so that an ordinary person out there is also not left out when it comes to these issues of the zoonotic diseases. Because when we talk about zoonotic diseases, it looks like some people are still very much ignorant about it, and maybe they do not have the knowledge yet about this zoonotic disease. Maybe briefly in some few minutes, if you can be able to paint for us an image of this zoonotic disease, and maybe some of the diseases that maybe also fall under this zoonotic disease category. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think I'm so glad to be here with West Nile TV, especially trying to create awareness to the population of West Nile and the country at large in regard to zoonotic diseases. First of all, zoonotic diseases are diseases or conditions that are transmissible from animals to humans, but also the reverse is true. Some diseases can be transmitted from humans to animals. The direction is reverse way it works. However, if you talk of the animals from where the diseases are mostly from, you find currently research indicates over 70% of diseases that are affecting human beings originate from the animal hosts. When I talk of the animal hosts, I'm referring to both the wild animal hosts and the domestic animal hosts. So these diseases are resident, these pathogens of viruses mostly are resident in the animal hosts. And in regard to West Nile region, actually Uganda, that has as a nation prioritized 7 priority zoonotic diseases. The 8th now is COVID. 6 out of the 7, now even 7 out of the 8, now we should speak of COVID as well, have outbreaks that have ever occurred in the West Nile region, in Arua district, in Arua city, in Terego. We have outbreaks of such in Yumbe, Bobongi, Moyo, Adjumani, and Zombo, Paida, Zombo, Nebi, and Pakwach. These are our districts, Madiokolo inclusive. So we have those outbreaks that have occurred out of, imagine, 8 prioritized zoonotic diseases. 7 of them have occurred in Western region. And when you look at them, you look at rabies, it is endemic. Endemic means it lives with the people in our place, in this region. It is endemic. When you look at plague, currently as I speak, Eastern DRC, Ituri province, there are already outbreaks and we are on alert. When you look at viral hemorrhagic fevers, Ebola, of course, has not been a common thing, but Rift Valley fever outbreaks have occurred here. You see, that is a viral hemorrhagic fever. Brucellosis is everywhere. People are taking raw milk, bongo, and all that. That's where they're getting it. Every district actually has those cases of brucellosis. So, all to cut the long story short, we are very high risk region as West Nile.
Talking about the risk, maybe we shall be also talking about some of the districts that may be at the very high risks, because the risks also may tend to be differing from one district to another. And if you talk about the other districts who may be at more risk of these diseases, which are some of the districts that you think, because basing on the results, maybe basing on the cases that you have registered, do you think maybe are leading when it comes to these cases of the zoonotic diseases in West Nile sub-region? Thank you.
Thank you. I was just getting over to say why we are so prone to these outbreaks of zoonotic diseases. First of all, there are 7 district border districts out of the 13. You talk of Adjumani, borders Southern Sudan. Moyo, the same. Yumbe, the same. Koboko, borders the same. Maracha, borders both Sudan and DRC. Arua city, the same. And Arua district, the same. And Zombo, actually also the same. So you realize direct bordering is one of the biggest challenge, because when you look at Democratic Republic of Congo, we have that forest in Congo, that the huge Congo forest, which is a reservoir for almost all these viruses. So that's why you find outbreaks are so common in Congo. So these are the 7 districts which are highly prone to outbreaks. Many of our people have suffered, animals have suffered from these outbreaks. Again, what makes us prone is we are hosting game reserves, like Ajay Game Reserve. Now, there is what we call the wildlife, domestic animal, human interface. That is a triad, a triangle of fertile for diseases, fertile for outbreaks. Because the wild host which keeps these viruses and are normal with it, transmit them to the domestic animals. Domestic animals live with the humans, and that's how the cycle goes on, the chain of disease transmission happens. Even you find some homes, people are sleeping together in the same, sharing the same dwelling place with animals. They sleep inside with the animals because of security reasons for their animals. So these practices, that alone also gives us a risk. The third thing is we are hosting refugees. Whereas the human refugees have a one-stop center where they are screened for some of these common diseases. Of course, there's measles, meningitis, and the like. But the animals they come with pass free without what? Being screened. What is the implication? That means that any infection that is in an animal will definitely be introduced into the country. So why is it happening like that? I think the reason is the country has not prepared enough to have a holding ground. We need to have a holding ground, which we call a quarantine station, where animals, as the humans are screened, the animals are also rested for 14 to 21 days while the exercise of screening takes place. So these are things. And finally, the fourth reason why we are high-risk district or region is, we are a transit zone for goods. We are a business hub. Actually, Arua city, Arua district, this is a very big business hub. So trucks passing have to stop over. You can see in Vra how the customs, the business is booming. So I think we need to take a very keen interest in that. Even then, the human daytime population of Arua city is about close to 12,000. Do you see that? Every day, the 12,000 people are coming and then going back. They are coming and then going back. And crossing from where? Some are crossing from DRC. We have porous borders, 365 porous border points for Arua alone. Arua city up to, from Odramachako, stretching up to Logiri. So that's why we need to be always on alert. Yes, that is it. As
stakeholders who are really fighting this disease, I believe there must be some challenges, because one issue that was actually raised is that the medical facilities that we have in this region did not have the treatment, they did not have the right drugs to these rabies cases here. And maybe how has this affected the spread of the disease also, maybe? Because I believe apart from the people's negative mindset to go towards heading for these treatments, the medical facilities also not enough. And talking about the various medical facilities, the testing centers are still not very much established in the region. And all the cases are being handled in one place, because if you talk about one place, we have Great Arua district. These cases are still being registered under Great Arua district. And that means that the districts themselves do not have these facilities, they do not have the testing centers. And maybe, in your own opinion, maybe how does this affect the spread of these zoonotic diseases? And maybe if we do not address the challenge here, what is the risk of the continuity in the spread of these diseases in West Nile sub-region? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, in management of zoonotic diseases, first of all, we think prevention is better than cure. That is a principle. But then the strategy is One Health approach. One Health approach is where we are considering, right now, actually we are developing the national One Health policy for this country. We are saying it is jointly collaborating, communicating, coordinating, jointly planning, jointly budgeting, jointly implementing, jointly monitoring, jointly evaluation. So we think the stakeholders need to be jointly doing some of those particular sections that affect zoonotic disease prevention and control together. Now, that is what we are lacking. That is a big challenge. Definitely, if partner A, by the way, partners are our big stakeholders, because they fund most of our interventions. Government does it, of course, through them, because they partner with us, and these response issues, actions are done. Therefore, we are not in that. A partner A, for instance, we had anthrax the other year. God forbid, I don't wish it to come back, although we have some rumors that it may be coming in Madiokolo. Anthrax, we invited a coordination meeting for One Health in the district of Arua, and partners came, UNHCR, WHO, and many others. They came. Now, when we were trying to solicit support in different action areas, and like IPC, infection prevention control, we needed gloves, we needed PPEs, we needed, in the lab, we needed reagents, we needed all that. Sometimes we also needed logistics, like transport, like fuel and so on. So we found that partners, many of them said, for them in the store, they had what? They had gloves. Finally, when we are trying to collect what we had more gloves than we needed. Yes. So this means that we needed to plan jointly that for us as a region to be on alert, we must stockpile. We must stockpile these different demands or needs for response together. I want to thank the government because right now we have the Regional Emergency Operations Center, which sits in Arua Regional Fire Hospital. There is that unit which is there, which helps us to, in coordination of these joint responses. We, of course, have these risks already. Anytime now that we have rain, heavy rain, let me tell you,
coming to that.
We have had heavy rain. We shall have, they say it's continuing up to January. Now, from February, especially March, you'll see dozens of outbreaks taking place, especially with zoonotic diseases. I want people to be on alert. Never sit on any strange disease that you are seeing, either in humans or animals. The environment is degraded. We need to work towards what? Restoration. Floods are over, all over. We have destruction of bridges. We have, all these are One Health concerns. People think when you say One Health, it is only the doctors. It is only the people from health. It is only the people from animal health. No, the environmentalists are there. We have now brought even the plant health. We have brought the education department in. Because education, without education, people cannot get awareness. So we have got community development services. These are all components of what? One Health, which we need to embrace holistically as a society. Yes.
Talking about the One Health approach, actually, it is one when we venture that talks about the animals, the health of the environment, the health of the people too. So I think that is an approach that we need to embrace. On the 3rd of this month, we did celebrate the One Health Day that was in Terego district, where we had a number of plays, we had a number of information being told to these masses who turned up for this event here. So I think it's one approach that we need to take and to see to it that we avoid some of these diseases, because the One Health approach is one that really does not talk about one person. It talks about all stakeholders, health stakeholders being involved. It's talking about the various stakeholders. We have the environment officers, we have the production officers, we have everybody is part of the fight against the zoonotic diseases under the One Health approach. So I think as stakeholders, let's put up the spirited fight against the One Health through the One Health to see to that we avoid the zoonotic diseases. And with that, maybe we shall be able to kick off the zoonotic diseases out of the region, because zoonotic diseases really have still remained a great challenge. And now Dr. Willie Nguma is with us, and we are still talking about the various zoonotic diseases and really how they are impacting on the great lives of the people of West Nile. And now the wildlife habitat is one way that we are really talking about the zoonotic disease. And if you move to DRC, where we did have outbreaks of Ebola, one way they actually raised concern was through the eating of the other animal that we all know, the monkeys. This is the chimpanzees. So I think one way we also need to avoid the zoonotic disease aspect of this region is through avoiding eating these wild animals. And now animals also which have been bitten by these stray dogs that have died. People have tendencies of going to exhume the bodies of these animals and come to eat them, and not actually without also minding of if this animal was bitten by an animal that had these diseases. People just want to do the love of meat. People now do not mind about the diseases, and yet the treatment of these diseases is quite expensive. And then the meat that you wanted to eat, instead of going to buy it, now you're going to buy for yourself sickness that is quite expensive, and then that goes back to the negligence and the poor mindset of the people. And I want to bring Dr. Willie Nguma once again on the issues of mindset change that is really greatly impacting on the issues of in the spread of zoonotic diseases. And how do you think mindset change is still a challenge when it comes to the people of this region? And then we have had cases of people exhuming the bodies of these animals and how risky is it to them? Thank you.
Yeah, I want first to broaden the spectrum of stakeholders. People were neglecting religious leaders. People were neglecting traditional healers. Actually, if you went to the recent outbreak in Kasanda, in the Masaka region there, one of the things was people who were suffering from vomiting blood, diarrhea, and what, and fevers. They first went to clinics. From clinics, they were not responding, and they went to the people. They say witch doctors, but those, for us, we said they are traditional healers. So from there, that healer would not contain it, and the people died. We lost quite many people due to the recent Ebola viral disease. But all to speak about the traditional mindset of the people, we really, I think it is a collective mindset change, drive. We need really to get into, regardless who is at what level, every level needs to take their stake and act on that. For example, if someone's animal just died, it has not died of or struck by lightning, or it was not maybe strangled and so on. You know, it suddenly died. Then you must have a question mark that why did this animal suddenly die? Even if again you see blood oozing through maybe the nostrils or the vagina or the anus or the all natural orifices, then you must begin having a question mark. Quickly you have to do what? Report to the nearest authorities. Every local authority is important. Every member of the population is important. There's what we call event-based surveillance. Actually, event-based surveillance is for everybody. When you are walking to the market and you found nearby some chicken had died and they threw the body on the roadside, just report. Say, we've seen this. So I think it is a drive for everybody, exhuming the bodies of animals. Really, you are bitten by a dog, for instance, and the dog has gone around biting many people. You are still seated. Any scratch from a dog is potentially hazardous. You know, rabies, a disease like rabies, we have lost people. The figures, actually this month, figures have gone more than the other years. We have already reached 40. Yet this is still, we are left with the 10 days to end the month. So if we reached 40, that means within these days, every day people are reporting about 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, every day, daily. People even call us off our weekends. Sundays we register. And yet the anti-human anti-rabies is expensive. It's not available. Yesterday I received a call from a Germany that the cost there is 48,000 per dose. And this person needs 5 doses. You can see that is a lot of money for a rural person, a rural poor people. Where do they get over 200,000? That is a lot of money. So I mean, prevention being better than cure, you better report early. And first, best and all, people should adopt vaccinations. Vaccinate the dogs, and your dog is safe. The dog population must be safe.
Yes, doctor, talking about vaccinating these animals here, you have just alluded to the issues of these drugs not being in most of the facilities. And now we are talking about vaccinations campaigns. Do we have the drugs maybe to vaccinate the dogs? Because for the human beings, you clearly say that in some of the places they're not there. And how true is it that we are now going to be having the vaccines for these dogs here? Because for the human beings, we're lacking them. And what is the percentage of us having the dogs vaccinated when we actually not have the drugs for treating the disease on the humans? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question, because this now takes me to the point that I wanted to put forward. Actually, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries has procured large volumes of the animal anti-rabies virus, I mean vaccine. Like right now, if you went to our office in the Arua district, in our fridges we have quite excess. We have over 10,000. You see, we have over 10,000 doses of that. And Greater Arua, including Terego and city and Arua, residual Arua district, we have 11,732 dogs and cats. And if now, like alone here in that fridge, we have 10,000 doses of those vaccines. Why do when people come to pick the vaccines and vaccinate? We are trying. We send staff to go and vaccinate. They vaccinate. Others bring their dogs there. But if you draw a program that people bring dogs and cats for vaccination, you will sit under that vaccination point the whole day. You only get maybe 10 dogs. Yet this population of dogs in that area are high. The second thing is people have a responsible dog ownership. The other time, I was even saying, why don't you people now begin eating dogs? Because now you cannot vaccinate them. You are keeping more than what you can afford. This is like marrying 6 wives, yet you don't have a reliable source of income. So what happens? The children, the offspring begin moving around and become stray humans, like stray dogs and cats. So our biggest challenge is irresponsible pet ownership. Keep what you can feed. Make sure the dogs you are keeping, you can feed them. Give them food. Dogs, like humans, need food 3 times. They need meals, actually 2 to 3 times in a day. And the quality meals, I mean, that is what is lacking in our society. Therefore, if you can't afford, don't. Yes. If you can't, go to what you can.
Yes, talking about keeping what you have, that time you said some people have become rich people. They have become rich owners of dogs. Somebody keeping more than 10 dogs, and you really wonder why this person is keeping all these numbers for you wonder the motive behind this person, and yet the person cannot clearly take care of these dogs here. And for the vaccination, if you have to vaccinate these dogs here, is there any provision for this person who has the numbers, who has become a rich person in terms of ownership of dogs, having all his dogs vaccinated?
Yeah, actually vaccines are free. You know, rabies is a public good disease. Public good in a sense that the government takes full responsibility of that. Actually, even human vaccines are supposed to be there and free. For us, ours, for animals are free, totally free. They don't charge you. If you pay something, it's out of their honesty, courtesy to the person providing you the service. Otherwise, we vaccinate, we provide you with the vaccine. The Minister of Agriculture gave us free vaccines. I want to advise my colleague DVOs in other districts in West Nile region to take interest to go to the ministry, because there are vaccines there, not only rabies. We have many other vaccines which are there. Blantrax, for anthrax, it's free. We have these vaccines there. If the person does not go to the ministry, how does he get? So the leaders, our district leaders, will have cordial relationship for coordination and collaboration with the ministry, so that they can make advantage of what the government is procuring for the benefit of our
society.
Yes.
So I think that is something we need to take up. And for those people who have become rich owners of dogs, you will not be known by keeping those huge number of dogs, where you cannot actually take care of them. You will not be known as a rich person by having all the numbers of dogs, and I do not know even why you should be keeping more than 10, because dogs are really meant to be part of security. That is something we have known them for. You can actually use dogs for doing so many things in terms of providing security, in terms of helping you in animal rearing, in terms of animal grazing. But whereby you start keeping the animals more than 10 now, really, it becomes quite shocking to the nation. We now start wondering of what kind of person you are, because you cannot keep all these animals and yet you cannot clearly take care of them. So I think this is something as stakeholders also we need to really go back to the communities and engage them in terms of reducing the numbers of animals. You give them out. People need these dogs here. You can take them to Congo, maybe where they eat them from, because you have had people on the other side eat the dogs. I do not know about it because I've never been to that side. I've never seen it happening, but we have at least had rumors that people that side eat dogs. You can actually take them and sell them that side and maybe get yourselves also some small money where you can earn from, rather than keeping them here and then becoming problems to people. Because really, if you move at night, you can really tell how dogs have become a problem. They loiter the whole night and they have to look for what to eat. And once they're released, and this is quite common because dogs at night move freely, they have the tendency of moving from one place to another due to some factors. It could be heat, it could be need for food. So I think as stakeholders, we need to ensure that we also come up with policies. This is now to the governments. Why don't we have policies drawn in place to see to that we regulate the issues of dog ownership and movement? And do you think this could also help maybe reduce on the cases of this rabies spread, because we have rabies that has really remained a challenge, and this is spread from the dogs that have really been a challenge, biting animals, because we have seen dogs also biting goats around, and they keep on spreading the disease. Do you think regulation by government in terms of by law could help address on the issues of the dogs moving rampantly, and then that would, in your own opinion, do you think it would also help reduce on the cases and the spread of the rabies diseases in this region?
Yeah, I think that is true. If we had a framework, a legal framework in place, this would help regulate some of these bad human practices, just like you mentioned. And currently, what has been happening, I was engaged first of all, trying to look at sections that are insufficient in the Rabies Act. And we also went through the Animal Diseases Act. But now, these two acts, we recommended for them to be repealed, and another act enacted, which is called the Animal Health Act. Now, not Animal Diseases Act, Animal Health Act, because health goes now beyond diseases. Now, that is why now we are trying to integrate the Rabies Act into the Animal Health Act, which is now the bill. It is already a bill in Parliament. And actually, the Parliament already passed it for the President's consent. However, the provisions there are sufficient enough, even penalties are deterrent enough to enable people have corrective practices as opposed to what they used to do traditionally. The penalties are quite okay. What is very, 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 very painful in our country is we have every documentation, we have every frameworks, but trying to enforce them, trying to put them in practice is our challenge. We have failed in all of this. I am a champion of the Animal Diseases Act, Rabies Act, but how regular do I enforce this? We don't even get to sensitize people about this. So people need awareness, people need robust approaches so that we can enforce this. And enforcement, of course, we know that ignorance is not defense of the law, but really you need to create awareness about those provisions that government have, because they are for corrective actions, they are for correcting the people. They are not for just punishment, no. So let people know that what they are doing is wrong, they need to correct. And if purposely they continue to do it, then this will be the consequences. And this is what we are lacking. Yeah, so
implementation is where we are having challenges, and I'm a believer of it that we do not, as a nation, it's not that we do not have the laws in place, but what we are actually lacking is the aspect of implementation. Because however beautiful the law is, but once not implemented, then that will be a waste of time, because it will not be able to help. And laws are drawn in place not to really create harm or create havoc or create pain, but they are to regulate, because a country that has no law, a country that is in a lawlessness state is one that is really very much bad, because in a state of lawlessness you can really imagine anybody doing what they feel like they should do, and that is quite shocking. So I think as a nation, let's embrace the issues of taking the laws as they are. We need to, when it comes to the aspects of implementing, so I think this would also help address on these issues of the zoonotic diseases, because zoonotic diseases really, if we had by the strong bylaws, all acts enacted in place, this would maybe also help reduce on the disease, because somebody will know that I have the mandate of taking care of my dog. I will have to regulate the movement of my dog from one place to another. I have the mandate. I have the mantle to ensure that I keep these numbers of animals which I can take care of, and this would also help really address on these challenges. Because we have seen in Kampala, this is quite shocking, I do not want to witness it coming to this region here. In Kampala, people were given warnings. I've seen it in areas of Kawempe, area of Boise, where you see people being warned. The leaders actually take their times to warn people against the movements of dogs. And once that time reaches, you see so many they start poisoning the dogs actually, which is not good, because these animals also have their own lives. because I also have regulations that the animals really have to be protected, those provisions is also there to care for their lives. But once where the situations get out of hand, sometimes the authorities are pushed into doing this, because you wake up and find so many dogs have died in place, and that is a clear implication that you have not clearly fed your dog. That is why your goat dog has gone out to look for what to eat. And these dogs are poisoned, not that they are being killed in other ways, but they are being poisoned. And then the city council also has the mandate to come and collect the bodies the following day, and you have nothing to do because you are warned in terms of regulating the movement of your animals. So I think this, we do not want to sit in a row here, but rather we need to ensure that we take care of our dogs in a way that is very much amicable, and maybe in one way that we also have to ensure that we take care of our dogs. We ensure that their safety is in place, because if they are not safe, they're also putting the lives of other people at stake. Because if your dog is not safe, then the safety of it not being safe is also at the same time putting the other lives of the other people not to be safe. So I think this is something we need to embrace ourselves. And then Dr. Nguma, as we rush for a short break, maybe in some few words, as government, what do you think, apart from the laws and then the sensitization bit, what else do you think government needed to do more to see to it that the zoonotic diseases are addressed? Now, you talked about the issues of the drugs lacking in the facilities for human health. And then for the dogs, we have the vaccines. We also want to commend the Ministry of Agriculture, and is it Maif? We need to commend Maif for that, to see to it that the drugs are really in place and they have helped the dogs being vaccinated. And now this comes back to human health. What is lacking? What is government not doing to see to it that human beings have this disease, have the drugs in place, have the medication in place, and to see that the cases are reduced? As stakeholders, maybe what is your plan also to see to it that we reduce on the challenges of these zoonotic diseases that are still a big challenge to this region, that are still affecting so many lives, and we have still seen so many lives being lost, because this is a disease of death. If you're talking about zoonotic disease, somebody may not be wondering that may be wondering of what zoonotic disease we're talking about. We're talking about a disease that is of death, because it can actually take your life if you do not take care of yourselves. It may be that disease that may end up taking up your life. So you have the mandate to see that you protect yourself from this disease here. And I want to bring you back, Dr. Nguma.
Oh, yeah.
What is the plan of government to see that in this region that is still very much affected by this zoonotic disease is addressed? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Just before, quickly, let me have what you brought in, the bylaws. Actually, one recommendation from this would be the sub-counties must develop bylaws, because bylaws are at sub-counties. But districts should also equally develop ordinances. Ordinances, yes. And these ordinances must be in conformity with the national laws that are existing, so that every local community has their local context of what they want. So I think these ordinances will be participatory, and people derive them from their local context. And this can be well then enforced and implemented. That's number one. Number two, vaccine availability is also in our hands. You know, the national medical stores will always procure and bring and deliver and supply and deliver drugs or vaccines according to the order of the demand in a local context. So the health in charges, where you see the dog bite cases are so many, and people already dying from rabies, so you should also tailor your application. You know what people, most of these health colleagues are saying when I interacted with them in our Domi Health Center and the rest of them, or Mogo and so on, they are saying the cost of the anti-rabies, for instance, is high. If you procure 1 dose of anti-rabies, it's equivalent to procuring 20 doses of anti-malarials. So they prefer having more anti-malarials than anti-rabies. So they should really try to adjust accordingly, be flexible and monitor the seasons, because many of the zoonotic diseases are seasonal in nature. They look at the waves of the weather, the waves of the climate and so on. So let these people get proactive. Number three, we should deepen sensitization. Really, sensitization is an ongoing process. We really need to deepen, because people must report. No, sensitization and surveillance. Surveillance must be taken as a for day-to-day activity for everybody. Don't think it is only the health people who should do it. Surveillance is only an ongoing, continuous collection, dissemination, analysis and dissemination of data regarding animal health and human health and the environment. So if you see a flood, a bridge has broken, that is what people report. But if they hear some chicken have died in someone's farm, they are not reporting. And these sensitizations will go all along health practices, eating meat of dead animals. Really, that is not allowed. I love the Islamic faith because they have, that is a taboo in Islamic faith. Let us look at best practices and adopt them because they will be for the safety of our people. Finally, what the government is doing. Currently, I told you we are developing a what? A national One Health policy. As I speak, Uganda doesn't have a One Health policy. So how would you begin directing your resources towards implementation of activities or strategies under One Health? Because there is no law, no provision, no policy of government that says, Chief Administrative Officer, who is the accounting officer district, make sure 3% of your budget goes for One Health activities, and which are really prominent and everybody is seeing. So we are now developing the policy. We've reached the final stages, and I think by early half of next year we should be through. Maybe it would be at the desk of the president.
Okay, as we are running out of time, Dr. Nguma, we want to thank you for the discussions on the animal health and the health of the people as well. We want to thank you for that. And we also want to, before I sign out, we are running out of time, as I told you, at 9 exactly, we shall be having the news bulletin in Lubarati with Fete Emmanuel. But before we do that, Dr. Nguma, your final words. But before you guys bring you on board to have your final words, I want to thank the partners that have really helped in fight against the diseases. Talking about the zoonotic diseases, we have had KOKOLIRIKO Uganda doing greatly, and we also have Malteser. Recently, they had an engagement to see to that they talk to the people about the zoonotic diseases, and the other partners, World Health Organization, Ministry of Health, all these are partners, because when we talk about the One Health approach, it directly tells us that we are all involved as stakeholders. All of us are stakeholders to see to that. Even the media, we have the mandate to sensitize the locals about the zoonotic diseases. So I think that is something we really need to commend the partners for. And we also call upon all the other partners who are still out to see that we come and fight the disease, because if we do not fight the disease, then our people will be lacking behind. As we run out of time, your final words, Mr. Dr. Nguma?
Yeah, I equally want to thank partners, as you said, like World Health Organization. They have brought in what they call high HR, the International Health Regulations 2005. It speaks about first of all prevention. Now, if you have practices for prevention, people are, because COVID has gone out, no one is even doing sanitization. People are not washing their hands. People are just not putting on masks. But COVID is on. And many other diseases are spread out in a similar manner. But the National Health Regulations has put in place and strengthened the systems of prevention first. But if you fail to prevent, you must first detect early. Early detection allows that you can respond and control the disease at source. It doesn't spread anywhere. So the issue of timing. So early detection, but even then, as you detect, we need to respond. And as we respond, of course, now we need to recover out of this. So everybody should now look at One Health as a key thing. Together, we shall manage.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Nguma, for coming on the show to come and sensitize the locals. And today, this is the Wednesday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV with me, Farish Majid. And remember, at exactly 9, we shall be having the news bulletin in Lubarati with Fete Emmanuel coming through. But today, in case you're just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard. You can as well as share your comments. We shall be also reflect them on the screen with the other viewers out there. All you can use is use our various social media generating platforms, and that is on Facebook. You can also use the WhatsApp platform as well. You can use the YouTube link where we have really shared, which we have really shared. We shall be also in place to see to it that we share your views with the other viewers. And for those of you watching us from Zuku, you can as well as use the numbers that are rolling down on your screen, and where we shall be in place to share with other people who are watching us. And then you can also share your views to see to that we help the people who are out there who may not be having the knowledge of